of a lot of modern ideologies which have obviously misled a lot. For example, the question behind Marxism or capitalism, I take only two examples, the relation between the person, let's say the I, and the community, the we. In Marxism, is the person for the community or the community for the person? Are you a good
person for the community?
Yes. You're a good Marxist when you serve the community, when you serve the Marxist ideology. You're not a good person when you develop what is unique in you. You're a good person when you're a good Marxist. And therefore, it's an ideology manifesting that the person is for the community. In a certain way, all political ideologies are the same, even capitalism. You're a good member of a capitalistic society when you enter in the flow of the capitalistic behavior. Otherwise, you're always on the border, but you're not really a full member of the community. So in all the political ideologies, if you pay attention, all of them imply treat the person at the service of the community. Now, obviously, my question will be, is the person at the service of the community or the community at the service of the person? What?
Community at the service of the person.
Yes, but then you have to justify it. You're right. And you know very well that when it's not the case, it's immediately a case of slavery, one way or the other. There are certain families, you just sense that you cannot get out of it because you're such a unique, indispensable member that everybody's counting on you, and it's a disaster when one member gets married. So then somehow the unique personality or the uniqueness of the person fades away because of the common good of the community. Then interesting what, remember this word in the scripture, when it is said, speaking of Jesus, it is better for one to die so that the whole of the Israel, the whole of the community can be saved. Is the person for the community in Christianity, or is the community Christ dies, loses his life to serve the community? Okay? And sometimes such an understanding of the mystery of the cross, for example, which is heroic, I give my life for the sake of the church, has misled many in the sense of not recognizing that Christianity doesn't demand from us to die for the whole, but to blossom out personally in charity, which will be fruitful for the whole. That is first of all the I. So what makes a person? Obviously, the foundation is the nature. We couldn't be a person unless we are human. So we all share the common nature. And then how do we develop and therefore single ourselves out of this common nature? By our choices. What makes a person is our choices. What makes the I is the choices. And you see that in a teenager. And there's a moment, a teenager, there's a moment where he starts saying no, no, no to everything because he wants to affirm his choices. It's not yet very spiritual, it's usually much more the me than the I, but he goes through these phases of willing to single himself out in relation to adults, in relation to his parents, his educators, whatever, and that's a little bit of crisis when he wants to affirm his choices. So we develop our personality, we become more and more a person. We are always human. From day one, we are human. For the moment we have a human soul, human spirit, we are human. But we become a person, and we develop our personhood We develop our personhood in the sense that we develop our autonomy. Because clearly, in order to be able to make choices which are going to be my choices in a unique way, I need to be autonomous. What St. Thomas Aquinas looks at when he looks at the human acts, an act is properly human, and we would say an act is properly personal when I am the source of it, when I freely act, and when my finality is human, is spiritual. Okay? So, the more I develop my autonomy, the more I will be able to develop my personal choices, the more I will develop my personhood. My human nature has not changed. I am always human. From day one to the day I die, human nature. But I become more and more a person. And you see very well, I'm sure you can look at your friends, some of them have very little autonomy. In fact, they have a very weak personality. They just follow whatever others do. They never make their own discernment. They never make their own choice. And clearly, the whole of the modern education is pushing us that way. We're building up on nature much more than on the person. And in the name of building up on nature, everybody should eat the same type of thing, everybody should like the same type of movie, everybody should like to dress in the same way. That's nature. And the whole modern education and the whole modern culture is not at all developing our personal autonomy. Where does this autonomy come from? From the intelligence. While the modern culture builds up on the imagination and therefore on our psychology. And at the level of our imagination and our psychology, nobody is unique. All of us are basically the same, more or less angry, more or less in search of pleasure. Fine, it's a more or less, but basically we're all the same. Where do we discover our uniqueness? Where do we start discovering our autonomy from the way others behave? When we start using our intelligence in order to discern. And to discern what is good for us, what is not good for us, whether people say this or that, I discern. It is my discernment. I'm not dependent on the opinions of others. I'm not dependent on what the media tell me. I'm not dependent on what the community tells me. I discern myself. Then I slowly become a person. And there are certain cultures where it is extremely difficult to become a person. Where there are certain Asian cultures, I speak of Asian cultures because I know them better than others. There are certain Asian cultures where it is a real struggle to develop a personality of a free personal choice, not being constantly controlled by the community. Which is, relate to all those cultures where the common good and the community is first, for different reasons. In Asia, it is very much this difficulty that we see. The West is totally different. So what makes a person is what first of all allows us to develop what is unique in us as a person is our intelligence allowing us to choose. But to choose what? Is it to choose a work? Is it to choose a friend? To choose a work is not very unique. It's not there that we discover what is unique in us. You choose a work, fine, you're good at it. The day you die, they find somebody else. Never consider that you're indispensable in the work. They will tell you, we love you, we need you. Father Dominique, we need you so much. Fine. The day I disappear, they find somebody else. Fine. Everybody is fine. So, at the level of work, there's nothing unique in us. We are more or less qualified. Fine. Maybe if we are an artist, there's something unique because we are inspired. But in the day-to-day activity of work, we are not unique. Where do we discover how unique we are? In the choice of love that we make. Because in the choice of love that we make, nobody can replace us. Nobody can replace us in our choices. Nobody can force us to love somebody. And nobody can replace us as a friend. In a certain way, look at your friends and see who are their friends, and you will know who they are, not their work. Today, yes, we say, oh, this one is a banker, this one is a, I don't know what, a sport teacher, this one is a... Okay, then we believe that we know. No, we don't know the person by the work. We know the person by the choices that they make in friendship. We don't know the whole of the person, but we know a lot of what is unique in the person. So the personality, or the person, if you wish, oh, I took the wrong one, I think. Anyway, since I started, I continue.
The spray is just on the side.
Huh?
The spray, if you need it, it's just there.
Yeah, sorry.